Hi, I'm going to work through problem 12 for this week, which is the frog simulation problem from the 2018 actual computer science test. This is one of the free response questions. All right, so you're going to need to read through this. If you haven't read it yet, you might want to pause the video and read through the problem. I like my implementation of the frog better than this one, but this does different things. So let's check it out. When you create a frog simulation object, you're going to have a distance saved in it and a maximum number of hops. So here's the constructor. When you create a frog simulation object, you send it a distance and a number of hops, and they get stored there. And then there's a hop distance method that hops a certain distance and returns an integer, tells you how many spaces it hopped. And then there's the simulate method, which checks to see if it reached its goal in the maximum number of hops. That's what we're going to write right now. So to do that, they give you some examples. The rules are you return true if the frog has reached or passed the goal. You return false if the frog has reached a negative position, and you return false if all the hops have been done and it still hasn't reached the goal. So they give you some examples here, and these are all the things that are available to us. We're going to use these two variables, and we're going to use hop distance, and we're writing the simulate method. So here's where it is. They tell you have to use hop distance appropriately to receive full credit. So let's give it a try. So public Boolean simulate. We're going to make a distance variable, set it equal to 0, and then I think we'll we're going to do a for loop and use the number of hops. So for int I equals 0, I less than, and that variable name right here, max hops I plus plus. So this, because we're starting at 0 and staying less than max hops, that'll do the right number of hops. And so then we're going to say distance. I'm going to say plus equals, and then that method that actually does the hop is called hop distance. Remember, it returns an integer. It's like telling the frog to hop, and we don't know how it decides how far the frog hopped, but that's how far the frog hopped for that jump. Okay, so we just added the current distance to our distance variable that started at 0, and now we have to check if distance is less than 0, we're going to return false, because that means we failed. The frog's not allowed to go negative. And then we're going to say if distance greater than or equal to, let's see what the variable is called, goal distance. Goal distance. Then we're going to return true. It means the frog made it. And then if we make it through the for loop without returning true, then the frog didn't make it. So we say return false right here. All right, so that's part A. And let's go check out part B. Part B is another method, and it tells you what's supposed to happen here. When you call this run simulations method, you send over an integer. You know it's going to be greater than 0, so it'll run at least once. And then it's going to run that many attempts. It's going to run that simulate method that many times, and it's going to count how many times it was true. And then it's going to return it as the number of times it was true divided by this num variable, divided by how many times you ran. So sorry, I paused it. I'm not sure where I was, so sorry if it just jerked. But here we are, part B. I'm going to make an int variable called successful. I'm going to make it equal to 0 because before we start, we haven't had any successful runs. And we're going to do a for loop, int I equals 0, I less than num, because that's how many simulations we're going to run. Go up by 1 each time. And then we can do this if simulate. So that's a lot like saying if simulate equal equal true, but you don't have to say equal equal true because it's a Boolean expression. So if that is true, and what it means is it ran a simulation and it's going to either give us true or false. So if it's true, then we want to say successful plus plus, like that. And remember, it's okay if it's on the next line, you know. I like to put it on the same line, but it's fine. So this is going to run num times. So if num was 400, like in their example, it's going to run this thing 400 times, counting how many times it was successful. And then we're going to return the number of times it was successful divided by the total number of times. But they put a thing in here. They wanted to catch you and see if you remembered to make it a double. So, because if you just did successful divided by num, you'd get 0, because it would throw away the decimal portion. So you can say 1.0 times successful divided by num, or you could say double successful divided by num. It does the same thing. And that's it. That's part B. So if you have questions, please email me. Thanks.